Yes, I am always rocking out to our theme music. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Read Down, your weekly progressive political hot take by the Stonewall Democratic Club. On this episode, we will be reading down Russian Interference 2.0, stealing an election 10 weeks out, our shared panic attacks, and opening the library to read the GOP for filth while giving you the rundown on the latest 2020 developments. And of course, it is night 2 of the DNC. We will be talking all about the Democratic National Convention. But first, my name is Alex Mohajer. I am your moderator this week, and I am joined by panelists Ryan Basham. Hey, Ryan. And Ebony Murphy-Root, who's sitting in for Jonathan Welch today. Hi, Ebony.
Hello.
And our very special guest panelist this week, it is Alana Roshay. Alana Roshay, everybody.
Roshay all day.
Woo!
Roshay all day.
Someone want a t-shirt that says that.
Indeed. So welcome to the Read Down. We're so happy you're joining us, and what a week. So let's get right into it with our first segment, Big Democratic Energy, celebrating the biggest Democratic flexes of the week. And of course, the time has come at long last. The Democratic National Convention has arrived. Last night was night 1 of the Democratic National Convention, and it included some very key moments. So let's discuss, shall we? First of all, the new virtual format. So as we know, the Democratic National Convention, both the major party conventions are usually big events with lots of fanfare, 10 hours of programming a day, lots of crowds and screaming and cheering and balloons. And this time, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it has necessarily been moved to a virtual format and the streaming format. It reads a lot like a digital telethon. What do you guys... Oh, it's also only 2 hours a night as opposed to 10 hours a day with the speeches all day and all the convention fanfare. What are you guys thinking about this new format? And is it helping or hurting the event and what it's intended to do?
Ladies?
I think it's working. I think that having the party come right into the homes of Middle America and the coasts is working. I liked Eva Longoria as the panelist. We know that she does a lot of fundraising for the party. She's knowledgeable. She's Latina. She appeals to a lot of demographics, and it's working for me so far.
Yeah, I agree, Ebony. Honestly, I'm definitely appreciating the virtual world in this pandemic. I definitely appreciate having access to so many more events that I probably wouldn't be able to otherwise due to commuting and just geographic location. So I don't know. I appreciate that I was able to check in and watch it on Hulu. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the millennial aspect of my existence, but the energy around this presidential race, there's still plenty of energy around it. And regardless if it's a virtual platform or not, the energy is still really relevant.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, I loved one of the things that stuck out to me first was when Eva Longoria said that she was an 8th generation Texan, which, and I immediately thought of all the redneck white people I grew up with who like maybe had never even met a brown person, and like just how how the gears might have turned in their heads, just 8th generation Texan. I mean, I grew up with people who don't know that Texas used to be a part of Mexico. You know, so I was like, I just relished in the breaking of the brains of some of the ignorant people that I grew up with. But aside from that, I thought it was really interesting to watch the wide difference between some people who were able to give a speech that felt really like that still somehow had that, with an audience energy versus the people who didn't. I thought the mayor of DC gave a really powerful speech. Of course, I think everybody and their mother was entranced by America's mother, Michelle Obama. Like, there were moments where I was like, I felt like I was being talked to. Yeah, I have thoughts about that.
I have thoughts section. Okay.
Yeah. Slow down.
Personally speaking, this might not be totally popular, but here's the thing. I love conventions. I love politics. I love the Democratic convention. Every single year I am in from morning till night. And there is the part of me that is used to this event and loves it and just loves the fanfare and the spectacle of it and just like loves getting all excited and losing my mind about let's go get them and stuff. I did feel the like absence of that, but that's just because I'm a freak who loves like bombast and spectacle.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I thought that they were still able to deliver a message maybe even more effectively. Like we'll talk about Michelle's speech, we'll talk about Bernie's speech, but how much more effective to have them look you right in the eye and talk to you personally. So where there was things that we missed, I thought that there were opportunities gained. And so, it goes both ways for me, but a couple of things, and a major notable moment from the event is the stark contrast between what the Republicans are presenting in their party messaging versus what we saw last night just out the gate. Right away, we saw messaging about racial justice. We had George Floyd's family actually speaking and addressing the convention. The family of George Floyd, of course, George Floyd was murdered by police officers in Minneapolis earlier this year and sort of sparked a global movement for racial justice. And they offered a moment of silence for the victims of police brutality. What did you guys think of that? And do you think that the contrast could be any clearer?
I think it was natural. Some people always want more. They want you to be very explicit in your distress about racial justice. But I thought it read, again, very naturally and sincere and authentic that, the parties are very different in this way. We've got a party that's for social justice and is going to have this family on and give them time, and then a party that's going to do the exact opposite of that.
I worry that next week we're going to see something that's meant to be like the Blue Lives Matter version of that moment, where they're going to make it about, you know what I mean? Like,
we will. I mean, they invited the white folks that were like brandishing guns outside their house. Like, that's who they've invited to speak at the RNC. So when I see messaging, Alana, that's just the news that came out like in the last hour or so. When we see the stark contrast,
Native American man in DC, they've got that kid too. So.
Oh no, they do.
America's worst teenager. Yeah.
I mean, well, it is. I mean, the great news is that we got to go first, and it's like 95% of the entertainment industry is pissed off by the Republican Party. So, like, who's going to be running their production values? It's not going to be great. And also, who's their talent going to be? Like, who's left? It's like scraping the burnt stuff at the bottom of the barrel, trying to find somebody who's willing to actually get on national television for this Republican Party.
Scott Baio, he'll be there.
Ugh, gross.
Well, look at the 2016 RNC convention. It was maniacal. It was people chanting "lock her up," and Jeff Sessions, I think, did a thing, and half the people that spoke at that event are now in prison or under indictment. So, it's not anything new. True. And I'll note that in 2016, Hillary Clinton had the Mothers of the Movement speak. So that this is a platform position or a messaging position of the Democratic Party is not new. And I think given what's happening across the country with regards to the Black Lives Matter movement, it's all the more poignant and necessary. And I'm a big fan of, or I'm a big believer of, messaging is important, not just because it's politically expedient, because it's about what you are saying. Like, what it says to have George Floyd's family is profound, and words matter, and context matters. And I think having George Floyd's family on was a profound statement and a bold one. So I think Another very big highlight of the night was the daughter of a COVID-19 victim and Trump supporter who left us with this lingering quote about her father. It was, "My father was a healthy 65-year-old man whose only pre-existing condition was trusting Trump, and he paid with his life." What did you guys think of that moment? And I'd like to start with Alana.
This whole pandemic has really brought to light the level of ignorance in this country. It's I don't even have words to deal with to express my disdain, right? For I mean, it's coming from the top, right? So if we're having misinformation being spewed, people are having COVID parties. I mean, ugh. That's legitimately happening. And the fact that they were able to come forward with this story is very telling, and using his life as an example of this needs to be taken seriously. This is not a partisan issue as much as they would like to make it a partisan issue. Mm-hmm. So, I know that they like to deny science. This administration likes to deny science. But if that wasn't a statement to actually embrace science, I don't know what would be. I mean, it was a great example. I mean, unfortunately, to their demise.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah, and by the way, I should say, I said earlier that thing about 95% of the entertainment industry. That was an observation originally made by our dear Jonathan Welch, who is not with us this week. It really that moment hit me really hard because I lost my mother when I was 20 to alcoholism, and I was in California when she passed. I had already moved to LA. And so, the experience of saying goodbye to a parent from, not in the same room is one of the most traumatic experiences I think someone can endure. And it makes healing from their loss all that much harder because there's a psychological impact to a meaningful, useful psychological impact to being in the room when someone you love passes because your subconscious processes it better. And so, there are 170 something thousand brothers and sisters and daughters and sons and fathers and mothers and best friends and so on who have not even been able to be in the same building as the person they love the most. And I just I don't know how to get every time I see someone without a mask, I think about people like her whose lives are forever altered. And it's hard to not get really angry because it's so selfish to not wear a mask because your poor precious face can't handle a little fabric. I'm sorry, that's just not acceptable. You're not a good person. You're not a good person if that's your concern.
Yeah.
I think it's become a polarized political issue where it shouldn't and doesn't need to be one. And it's not a partisan issue to wear a mask, but Trump has successfully, and the Republicans, I think, have successfully made it one. And in doing so, they're responsible for the lives of many people who, like she said in the video, the only pre-existing condition that he had was trusting Trump. And I think that
blood on his hand.
We have a reckoning. All of us. We're going to have a reckoning with the trauma of this experience that we've all shared collectively. Also, the people who've lost loved ones. And thank you for that very touching story about your mother, Ryan. And can't imagine what that was like. And I think you're unfortunately in a position to really understand of what people are going through. Tiffany J is chiming in to say, absolutely, blindly following someone as ill-informed as Trump and his cronies equals disaster. Politicizing a pandemic is as dangerous as it gets. Absolutely right. Yes.
Can I point something out, by the way? As of this week, Americans are 8 times more likely to die from the coronavirus than Europeans. 8 times more likely.
Triggers me.
Like Europe is dozens of countries that have all kinds of political issues and national boundaries between them. They should not have it as easy as we should have. We're one country. We should have a much easier time having a singular system that prevents the spread and killing of this virus, and we don't.
Failure of leadership.
Absolutely. And
it's unacceptable.
If you're watching, what do you think of the conversation? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. We will read your comments live on air. Please click the share button on this. If you're watching on Facebook, click share. If you're watching on YouTube, please click share. Twitter, Periscope, click share. We are streaming across multiple platforms. So thank you for joining us on the Read Down by the Stonewall Democratic Club. We are talking about the Democratic National Convention. It is here. And speaking of failed leadership, I will say another big highlight for me of the night for the Democratic National Convention was the portion of the Republicans Against Trump section. There was like a little section that they dedicated to this, which was oddly compelling to me because I am of the mind that Republicans are ruining the country and running this into the ground, but I'm also of the mind that like tribalism is destroying America and that we have to eventually learn to listen to each other if we're ever going to get anything done or stop otherizing each other. And you know, Michelle touches on, and we'll get to Michelle, everyone. Hold on to your hats. I promise. It's coming. But, you know, what did you think of this section that was dedicated to Republicans speaking out against Trump and for Joe Biden, including a former Ohio Governor John Kasich, California's Meg Whitman, who famously ran for California state governor in this state, Representative Molinari, and then private citizens who were former Republican voters who are now voting for Joe Biden. What did you guys think of that? And should the Democratic Party be pandering to Republican voters when we should be maybe firing up the Democratic base? What are your thoughts? Let's start with you, Ebony.
Pandering is such a strong word, and it's so negative. We're a big party. We're a big tent. I think we can make space. They're welcome to come and vote for Biden. I don't think we need to plan the whole platform around them, but I welcome them. Meg Whitman's presence there was very powerful. That was a wow, Meg Whitman, the woman Republican of the establishment. And then Molinari, that was a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting that. So to the people that those folks appeal to, they needed to be there. And I think that they made the case for Joe.
I thought it was super brave of the everyday citizens who made videos for this. Like there was one guy who was just talking about how, one of the people, the way he talked about being embarrassed to share that he had voted for Trump was like, I hope that he represents a ton of people and that a ton of people see this and go, same, me, yes. Because I mean, one of the things that struck me about that group of people is I think we make up in our minds that Trump supporters look a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way. Some of these people reminded me of people that I know personally that live here in Los Angeles that are like people in the entertainment industry. The Trump voters are all around us and they are us. Many of them are us. So I'm all about reaching out to them and reaching out to them directly, especially right now. It's not like we have two legit parties that you could choose between in this country. Right now, there's a valid one and then there's destruction of all things. So I'm fine with it. And I also think, it's our responsibility to maintain the big tent, and we need to talk about that a lot so that the people on both sides of the continuum, as well as the people in the middle of the Democratic coalition, can have a proper context, like be reminded, hey, this is a good thing, because no one section of our party could ever win a national election. There aren't enough. We can't win the White House that way. That's not how that works.
Great point. It's true. You got to appeal to the range.
And I want to apologize to the panel and also to our listeners, because in even framing it as an act of pandering, I was pandering to a certain base of our side who is displeased with that. But my personal opinion is that it was very powerful to have a message of unity where on the same night as having Bernie Sanders rallying for Joe Biden, you've got John Kasich rallying for Joe Biden. And it felt like a really refreshing turning point where we can look beyond party politics and partisanship and look at the singular biggest threat to our democracy in Donald Trump, who is not a Republican. This isn't politics as usual. This isn't the normal hitting, the normal sway of a political election in election season. This is a dire existential threat of authoritarianism, and it's not hyperbole anymore. It's happening right before your eyes. Donald Trump isn't even trying to hide it anymore. He is openly trying to shirk our democratic processes and putting bounties on American soldiers, shirking the intelligence communities, trying to disenfranchise voters, close voting stations, slow down the USPS, and also that you don't vote. Voting, the fucking cornerstone of American democracy, and yet you still have 33% of his supporters rallying behind it because they're lost in this tribalistic insanity, frothing at the mouth like Looney Tunes. And that, yes, that's how I'm depicting them right here. And to have this happen on the Democratic side was a very powerful moment. I just wonder if it's going to read as that. And I hope that people can see it for what it is as a very important. Yes, Alana.
Yeah, because, to me, it did feel strategic. And that's fine. I get it. Get it done, right? Let's make it happen. But if you're going to take up this time and use this platform, you better bring your following and you better make sure that they are voting. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. I have some trust issues. Everyone knows that. So with these folks, it's like, okay, I get it. It's compelling. And let's see how you can execute. Since we gave you this, or not myself, but DNC provided that much, that much time. Because there's other folks like Stacey Abrams that I would have been more interested in hearing from. But I understand that she's also not pulling, and I'm sure we might get to her later. Anyway, I have some feelings. That's all I'm saying.
That's reasonable. Yep.
Yeah, legit. Well, I mean, for what it's worth, like programming a convention in a normal year when you can have 10 hours a day instead of 2 is somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. No one is going to be 100% happy at all, ever. No, when you have 5 times as much time to program, that it's just going to be like that. So I think of like seeing the people I want to see at the convention is like, I got my scraps and I'm going to choose in advance to be happy with them because I know that I'm not the only, I'm not the whole audience, but that's not that.
I get that. And Stacey can deliver.
She can. That's true.
Folks who follow her, they show up. And usually that's a margin that we want to sure happen. So anyway, in terms of getting folks activated, showing up, voting, that those are things that need to be factored in and considered. That's all. But I know I get it.
Well, look, you're absolutely right. And so on deck for tonight, we've got former President Bill Clinton. There's a lot of people being like, why Bill Clinton? And I'm like, he was a very popular former president of the United States. He's still alive. And yes, I would like to hear from him. Is that so wrong? Jeez Louise, people. Just like take it. Let's just listen and enjoy. Just enjoy. Just enjoy for once in your life. Just chill out. It's like, but I would have liked to hear from Stacey Abrams too on a personal note. But look, the really big, to me, the second biggest speech of the night, but maybe the most important, was Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. He gave a very unifying speech full of conviction. Everyone who knows me and who's followed my work knows I have grievances with Senator Sanders because in 2016, I personally did not feel, as someone who aligns with him on his policies a great deal, did not feel that he did enough to garner support for Hillary Clinton, and that it was something that adversely affected her. That's my opinion. It's just my opinion. I know that it's not always popular, but it's my opinion. So
it's popular with me.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. I was very moved to hear Senator Sanders speak with such conviction and such a unifying speech and a real message to his followers saying, if you supported me, then you've got to support Joe Biden. If you care about progressive policies at all, then you've got to support Joe Biden. And by the way, Joe Biden will be the most progressive president since FDR. If you look at his platform positions and what he's proposing. So he also was very critical of Donald Trump. He compared him to Nero, and he rallied far left progressives and warned about authoritarianism under Trump. What did you guys think of Bernie's speech? And did you think it had an impact? Ebony, what did you think?
I'm clearly not one of his followers, so I don't think I hear him in the pitch that he delivered it. But I know that for the people who listened to him, I think it was effective. He told them what to do. He said, you need to do this. no wasting your votes. This is what we need to do. So he was explicit and clear. I just think that I have a hard time listening to him. So thank you, Uncle Bernie, for saying what needed to be said. I just probably wasn't the target audience.
Oh my God, Alana's reaction.
I love this so much. This is so good. No, you're being authentic. No, I'm giggling because I appreciate it. It feels good. Yeah. We need to get information.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We all need to get information. That's all this is about. We all have our feelings about different political candidates, and we can go blue in the face talking about the differences, but we have to unify. It's the only
as long
way.
as we go blue.
Yep.
The thing, I've struggled for years with people who are hardcore Bernie-crats because, like, I'm a super liberal progressive, and I have always been behind so many of Bernie's ideas. I've just not ever I was a Bernie, like, I remember being a delegate to the California Democratic Party convention in 2012. And this was like, and he gave the keynote address, and it was the most incredible political speech I'd ever heard. And I was such a fan. And then right after that was the LGBTQ caucus meeting. And he went right from that. I think it was right after that same day, or maybe it was the next morning. Like he went straight, like he went out of his way to go to the LGBTQ caucus meeting and speak. Like he did not. That was not something he was expected to do at all. And I was like, this guy is awesome. And then he started running for president, and I was like, oh, Bernie's ideas are awesome, and he's really charismatic, but his plan to get elected and get his things passed are flawed as fuck. So, so for him to finally come around to saying some of the things he said last night, which he should have said 4 years ago, it was incredible. And I was moved because I finally felt like he was making it, he was really, really in an accurate relationship with reality. I think I do wish he had been a little more explicit about a couple things. He was basically implying that his family, as a Jewish person, understands the threat of authoritarianism because, we all know what Jews have gone through under authoritarianism. And I wish he'd been a little more explicit about that. I don't think the point quite landed. And the other thing is, he said that the things that his supporters have been fighting for were in jeopardy if Donald Trump wins another term, which is not true. They're not in jeopardy. They're fucking ruined. They're over. They're done. It's kaput. So he understated the reality there, and that kind of got under my skin. But I was overall really grateful that he was so direct about, hey, you need to not let Donald Trump win. There are a couple things. I don't know. I think at this point, I'm going to pick apart anything Bernie Sanders says because I always feel like he's not willing to go the whole distance. And so I'm looking for it at this point. But overall, it was great.
That part. That part. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I do question too. I mean, I have feelings about Bernie, of course, because of Hillary and because of Elizabeth Warren and, wanting to pick out female VP. Like, there's a lot of things. I'm like, homie, why aren't you pro women? That's the message I'm getting. But I have a hard time.
I've put on my I'm Still With Her sweater in honor of my feelings about Bernie from 2016.
Yeah.
But I will say, as someone who has been very upset with him for a long, long time, I publicly thanked the man on Twitter for his speech. I appreciated it. Thank you, Bernie. And it was an important speech. And I'm willing to put aside my my hurt heart, which will always be hurt, and let's throw one out for Hillary.
Is that an energy drink?
It totally was.
Oh my god! Oh, it's Perrier in a can. I don't know
not endorsed by or sponsored by Perrier, but Perrier, if you would like to, I drink 100 of you a day.
Yeah, we could use your money. And can we just say, Mackenzie Hussman made a great comment about how Bernie moved the party to the left. I'm really grateful for that piece, and I'm also really grateful for the piece where he normalized some ideas that paved the way for Elizabeth Warren to be a consequential candidate. So while I have issues with Bernie's specific personal choices, there are definitely net positives to him, and I'm grateful for him being a part of our big tent. I really am.
I don't know about that, Ryan. I think Elizabeth Warren is a consequential candidate because she's a powerhouse 100%. On her own. I don't think Bernie paved the way for her. I think
he doesn't get all credit for Elizabeth Warren by any stretch.
Clinton paved the way for Elizabeth Warren. It wasn't Bernie Sanders. I disagree with that 100%. But I hear what you're saying about normalizing the progressive policies like Medicare for all. But
Yeah,
one of the reasons
that was the point I was making.
Okay, good. All right. Well, just clearing that up.
I wonder. I always wonder that.
What's that?
I don't know if Warren feels the due to Hillary that we might think that she does. I wonder if she would say that Hillary paved the way for her.
I guess you're right about that. It's not for me to decide, but one of the ways that I'm able to cope with the outcome of the 2016 election is to think that Hillary Clinton made it unremarkable for a woman to win the national popular vote for president of the United States. So whether or not Elizabeth Warren feels that way, that would be all up to her, for her to decide. But it was a remarkable, profound thing that Hillary did. And, there was a video, and not to stray too far from the topic, there was this video right after the 2016 election of this little 4-year-old girl, and she was on camera with her mom or something, and she was just like, how come Hillary didn't win? And I'm sorry, Hillary, that you didn't win, but next time I'm going to be president. And I just thought, I cried and cried and cried, because that's what Hillary Clinton did and accomplished in 2016. She made it normal for that 4-year-old girl to think, hey, it could be me. And I think that for anyone who identifies as the other in any way, whether you're a Persian gay man, or you are a woman of color, or you are some other form of the other that's not the white hegemonic male, it is very important to see someone that's the other, even if it's a white woman, get to that level. For me, it meant something to me as someone who identifies as the other in some capacity. So I'll talk about Hillary every week, all week. So we should probably move on to the big show-stopping final act of the DNC last night, which was, of course, former First Lady Michelle Obama. She stole the night with her keynote, and we've got a clip for you guys. It's a good sizable clip because we thought it was a really good one. So if we could cut to the Michelle Obama clip so you guys can check it.
But let's be clear. Going high does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. Going high means taking the harder path. It means scraping and clawing our way to that mountaintop. Going high means standing fierce against hatred while remembering that we are one nation under God. And if we want to survive, we've got to find a way to live together and work together across our differences. And going high means unlocking the shackles of lies and mistrust with the only thing that can truly set us free, the cold, hard truth. So let me be as honest and clear as I possibly can. Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yes.
I want a t-shirt that says that.
So
I mean, she was playing on Donald Trump's really rather callous quote of "it is what it is" when referring to the coronavirus deaths. So what did you guys think about Michelle Obama's speech? I'd like to hear first from Alana Roshay.
She just radiates. I so appreciate her existence. My God. Yeah. I feel like every point she made in that speech just anchored in my soul. It resonated so deeply. If you didn't get the memo from that speech, you need to watch it again because it's so clear, helps you really. I mean, she just unpacks it all for you. She just does all the work for you. You just got to listen and drink it in and take it to the ballot. You know, it's incredible. I miss her. I miss her energy. I'm grateful that she's actually Biden is really lucky.
Yes, 100%.
That she's on his team and that she is supporting him 100% and is willing to go the distance. So, yeah. yeah, that's you know, that's about it.
And I thought it was really remarkable that we had, and historic, that we had a former first lady, and how unusual to have a former first lady questioning and criticizing the integrity of the sitting US president. It was really it's unheard of. It's unheard of. Usually these events are not like that, but it was like almost as if she felt it necessary to get up here and level with us to say this is not normal. And because she says she hates politics and we believe her, and because she's so authentic and she's so she's talking from the heart, and she's so poised and smart, and we believe that she cares about Americans regardless of their political affiliation, it really struck home. And for me, I was just like screaming and cheering. And, Ebony, what did you think of Michelle's speech?
Michelle Obama is the real American that the Sarah Palin people pretended that she was, right? Michelle Obama is middle America. She's from the middle of the country. She's got the great migration mom who came from down south. She's got the, bootstrap story. She really came from nothing, not like pretend came from nothing. And people listen to her. I mean, I watch the effect that she has on people, and they fall in love with her. Again, I don't always think that I'm her audience, because I know people like Michelle Obama. She reminds me of, like my fancy aunties. But for the people that she's like a marvel to, she really can just influence like nobody else in this country.
I learned something today that I did not know, which was that when she and Barack met, she was his mentor. And I just think that, every time I see Michelle Obama speak, it makes me think of my mother, because my mother was a problematic person. She died from a disease that is stigmatized, but my mother was also deeply involved in politics. And had she not been an alcoholic, she probably would have ended up at least running for governor or something. And and I think my mom would have really respected and admired Michelle Obama, because it's like you said, Alex, she's got this poise to her, and also at the same time she's got this this way of directly cutting all the way in to the truth of the matter, and in a way that lots of different kinds of people can hear and comprehend and process and resonate with, which is a truly special gift. And I just her, every moment when she lives well, every moment when she speaks the truth, every moment when she's in the public eye makes our society better. I'm grateful for Barack Obama for a lot of things, but one of the biggest things I'm grateful for Barack Obama for is because part of the package is Michelle. And I know she says she hates politics, but I still want her to run for president at some point.
Well, let's spare the poor Obamas. They've had enough. But Michelle Obama, I think, is effective because she doesn't desire to run for president. I think that's why it's effective. And as soon as a woman states her intention to achieve some sort of power in the United States, she's immediately denigrated as being power hungry and ambitious in the way that the men are not. Bernie Sanders can run for president 3 effing times, and no one calls him ambitious and criticizes his character. Well, I call him ambitious and pernicious. So I thought Michelle's speech was quite brilliant. And, look, the other thing is she was appealing right to the voters, and she made some great points that I want to talk about. She said that elections are won and lost by an average of 2 votes per precinct. In these swing states, we lost 77,000 votes in 3 states in the Electoral College, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, in an election which Mrs. Obama noted we won the national popular vote in by 3 million votes. That comes down to 2 or 3 votes per precinct. And she appealed to those Democratic voters who sat home during the 2016 election because they thought their vote doesn't matter. They were disenfranchised by the choice, and they felt like we're probably going to win. All the reasons, she went through them, the reasons that people may have stayed home, those 2 or 3 people in those precincts, and that it would have made a difference. But here we are. And she appealed to people: be prepared, pack 2 lunches, put your walking shoes on, and be prepared to walk through fire and brimstone to vote this time. Strap your mask on and mail in your ballot no later than October 20th. And we'll talk about the USPS in a second. So I think she's it was brilliant, and it touched on all the right points. So with that, the slate of DNC speakers for the rest of the week. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday, is the big one. It's Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, the trifecta of my queens. So I am very excited about tomorrow night. But the slate of DNC speakers overall has sparked some controversy. We touched on it a little bit. AOC was given a little less time than others. Stacey Abrams didn't get a speaking slot. 46 and a former VP contender on the Rising Stars platform. What did you guys think? And I don't want to we kind of touched on this. I don't want to go too deep into this, but is there anyone that you really, really wish got to speak? Or what do you think of the way they arranged the speaker list?
You can't have everybody. I'm happy with the list. It's fine. I don't know. I think I'm growing more agreeable in my late 30s, but it is what it is. I'm happy about it. It's great. Not everybody could be there. And who's not complaining about this thing is Julian Castro, because I get an email from him every minute where he's with Cory Booker, he's fundraising with this person. And so I hope that the party says thank you to Julian Castro for being such a team player and not whining about 60 seconds or 90 seconds or 5 minutes, but doing the work of being a party player. So thank you, Julian Castro, for the future.
Yeah. I just think AOC is great. From a pure branding and communication strategy standpoint, I think she's just so good when she's speaking. She's just so compelling that it behooves us to feature her more. But at the same time, she does get a lot of national attention. So there are kind of these competing goals, right? You want to motivate the base. You want to get out people who are swing voters. You want to motivate low propensity voters. You want to rise up the new rising side. There's so many different objectives to a convention when you have 10 hours a day. I agree. I think it is what it is. And there was no, like I said earlier, there's no way for everybody to be happy. We all get a little bit of what we want, and we should be grateful that we get it at all, because, we're lucky to be alive right now, and lucky to be living in a democracy that we still have time to rescue.
And I'll note, Alea Williams commented that Stacey had some time at the top of the convention tonight. So if you're watching, it has begun, and we're going to, as soon as we get off the air, we will all be tuning in. Not much, though. And she also said she really did not want to hear from, I believe she's talking about Julian Castro, and she agrees with Ebony. They need to be giving him lots of thanks, and I concur with that. Look, it's 2 hours a night this year. Not everyone can get can have a minute. And we saw lots of prominent people last night. Jim Clyburn, for instance, who had a small speaking section. It doesn't take away the value of Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn is obviously a lion of our movement. And so I think it's just managing 2 hours of time, and I think the Democrats are doing just fine. So let's move on to the weekly read down. This is the segment where we get to have an in-depth discussion on the top stories, starting off tonight with the USPS, which the United States Postal Service, which is in despair as Trump appointees gut and disable the institution. And today we got news that the new US Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, who has protesters in front of his home in North Carolina. And if you're in North Carolina, get on over there and enjoy. He is backing down from this, from some of his moves to defund the post office until after November. That's what he says. Do you guys trust this?
Nope.
Did you hear that news? Ebony says no. Ebony, go on.
My dad's sisters both work for the post office for 30 years. One of my aunts still does, and she says it's the worst it's been in her whole career. It's very bad. We need to make a lot more noise. This Trump appointee is not trustworthy. We need to be at the post office places, rattling the cages, banging on those blue postal boxes. We need to retain the postal service. This is one of those things of America that we need to have, and we need to keep our eye on this. This is bad. Alert.
Yeah. One of the things I heard Speaker Pelosi say today is, the announcement he made today is like a first step. It doesn't undo any of the damage already done. It just puts a pause on the damage planned. And so I'm glad. I think he's going before a House committee on Monday, and I think he's before a Senate committee later this week or something like that. So there's more pressure to be applied. We're not done here. This needs to be a sustained campaign until after the election, at least, because I mean, I really think that what he hoped is that he could put out that press release, people would stop protesting in his yard or whatever, and that he could go about his business when the heat is off of him. He just wanted the heat off of him. I'm pretty sure he still wants to destroy the USPS and then let it become a private entity that he can profit from later, because that seemed to be his goal in the first place. This is not a good person, you guys. This is not a good person.
Really, Ryan?
Alana,
That's new. That's new to me. I'm blown away. You've all said everything. I have nothing to add. I mean, I'm actually really interested. I kind of like want to forgo my time and hear more about Ebony's family. I'm like, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out, girl. I mean, call me. Let's mobilize.
I think part of the issue is the Postal Service has provided middle-class jobs to women, folks of color, immigrants. Just go look at who delivers your mail every day, and that's what they want to get rid of, like middle
veterans.
And I love them, and I talk to them.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if there you are, Alana. Go on. You talk to them, you said.
For somebody who's an activist who wants to rally and mobilize, there's almost paralyzed, like overwhelmed by the I don't know, the undertaking, right? Who's doing what are we doing? What do you recommend? Like immediate action steps. I'm sending letters to my senators and reps, etc. But like, I don't know. I feel really powerless is my point.
I think we should let the workers know we support them. Number one, let them know we see what's going on and we support them. And then really show up physically with our bodies and make noise. Like let them know that we see them and we're not going to let them take away this institution.
So like go to the post office and protest.
Yeah, bring 5 people like with your sign and like call the news.
Okay.
These protests are planned, by the way. I mean, I think there is a massive protest happening all over the country. If you're interested in looking up, I think it's a moveon.org, USPS protest across the country showing up at Postal Service, post offices and demanding that these services be retained and funded properly. And one of the major things, I think, to Alana's point, and is coincidentally the next topic, is what we really need is legislative action on this. And Democrats have come back to the House to try and pass some important legislation with regards to coronavirus economic relief and indeed the post office and funding the post office and making sure that it is secured and funded through at least November, but hopefully further than that, because as we know, it's not just ballots, it's people's social security checks, it's their mail, it's a necessary function of the United States government. And so the Democrats are back. The Senate has, however, remained in recess thanks to none other than our favorite pal, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, just a stand-up swell gentleman. So what do you guys think about this and what's going on in the U.S. Senate? Do you think this would be a nonpartisan issue?
Well, these people don't want to lose their reelection, and so they're trying to avoid the heat like DeJoy is as much as possible. So it doesn't. There's no benefit to Republicans in going back at this point, because even though the United States Postal Service has like a 91% approval rating, Donald Trump will come for them if they do anything that the fake news says is against his initiative to take down the Postal Service. So I don't know what incentive they would have to go back. Because even though so many of their constituents may support the Postal Service, if Donald Trump comes for them, it's still checkmate, which sucks.
Absolutely. And right here, we've got a link thanks to our beautiful and wonderful stage manager, Kate. She's got the link for the protest. If you want to protest to save the United States Postal Service, it's at moveon.org. survey/save the post office from Trump.
Can I just offer one more nugget on this? If you ever hear somebody saying that the post office isn't profitable and that's a problem, you need to remind them that the post office is not a business. It's an institution enshrined in the Constitution, just like the military. And the military isn't profitable either. Neither is the VA. Neither is the Department of Education. All of the things the government does.
Education.
Yeah, educate exactly. The police aren't profitable. Roads aren't profitable.
All socialist programs, by the way.
Exactly. The fire department is not profitable. These things aren't profitable. They're not supposed to be profitable. That's not the fucking point. The point is, it's something we can rely on. We're a first world country. We're supposed to be able to rely on things like our mail showing up on time for a reasonable price. That is the America that we're supposed to be having. So so come for people if you hear them talking about it not being profitable. That was never the goal. That was never the point.
Amen. And Tiffany J is chiming in to say that Southeast DC residents have reportedly gone weeks without getting their mail, which is outrageous. People who get their medication, their social security checks, who get important documents, who rely on the mail to literally survive. It's an outrageous shirk, and it is for Donald Trump's reelection purposes. Please join a protest, act.moveon.org/survey/
people. Sorry.
Go on, Alana, go on.
I'm a little triggered because folks forget that not everyone has access, right? Not everyone has the ability, like the transportation to go get their medication, etc. And if this is the program and this is what they've been relying on, and especially if they're senior or whatever, if they have physical limits, I don't know. It's a lot. It's more beyond just convenience. And that's what people need to remember.
Yeah, the people who run our government are not the people who live. Most of the people who live lives in this country, they don't understand those kinds of things, because to them, if the post office weren't available, I would just send an email because I have access to the internet and I can pay my internet bill, and that's not a big deal. That's not a problem. I can just spend a whole bunch of dollars on FedEx or UPS. They're not living the lives of the majority of America. 60% of Americans make, I think, less than $40,000 a year. A huge portion of Americans live in rural places that FedEx and UPS won't even go to, and it would take. I met a couple once that had to drive over an hour just to get groceries, and that was in Southern California. These are the post office is a vital service, and it's the only government agency with the financial woes that it has because Republicans have set it up to fail by putting financial machinations in place that fuck up its budget. That's the only reason this whole "it's not profitable" thing happens in the first place.
Well,
tell it.
Yeah.
But look, I hate to move us on, but we are running out of time, and we have got to open the library. The time has come to open the library, everyone. This is an opportunity for each panelist to discuss something going on that they would like to share, offer how others can take action, and what we can do. Get feisty, read someone for filth, and we'll start today with Ryan Basham. Who would you like to read this week, Ryan?
Oh, I want to read Everybody Who's Coming for Scott Wiener about his effort to create parity between straight people and everyone else when it comes to laws requiring sex offenders to be on the sex offender registry. Look, in California, if an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old are in a relationship and they have vaginal sex, it is not required. That is breaking the law, which I already have a problem with. That is breaking the law. But that 18-year-old is not required to be placed on the sex offender registry. However, if it's two people who are not heterosexuals, if it's or even if it's straight people doing anal or oral sex, the 18-year-old is required by law in California to be added to the sex offender registry. And State Senator Scott Wiener is trying to change the law just so it's fair, just so it's equal between gay people and straight people when it comes to people near an age who are around 18 having sex and being forced to be put on the sex offender registry. People are coming from him hardcore. He's getting death threats from people there, and it's kind of a part of this bigger picture of conservatives are trying to paint liberals as pedophiles. Conservatives are trying to distract from even the coronavirus by peddling all these conspiracy theories in a new way about liberals and Democrats in general supporting pedophiles and being pedophiles. We even had a commenter earlier who was blocked who said that Uncle Joe was a pedophile. But when it comes to people sending death threats to Scott Wiener for just trying to make it fair for queer kids when it comes to the laws that apply to kids who are in their late teens and being sexually active to receive death threats. That's disgusting and it's immoral. It's wrong. We should not be treating same-sex sex as if it were somehow more anything than heterosexual sex. It traumatizes people. These laws traumatize kids for life because even if they don't get affected directly by it, they know that it's true. They know that the sex they have or the sexual interaction they have with their boyfriend or girlfriend in high school is more potentially illegal. And that stigma can last with them for life. So I'm coming for those people. You need to calm the fuck down and just respect that queer teenagers deserve the same equal protections that straight teenagers deserve. And Scott Wiener is standing up for them, and it's the right thing to do.
Right on, Ryan.
Amen. Mackenzie commented, that's a lot of sex education, and it sure was. Thank you. Thank you for that. And let's move on to Alana Roshay. Let's open the library. Who would you like to read this week?
Honestly, I don't really have anyone to read.
Oh, you can think of someone.
I think you can think of somebody.
Yeah, catch me on the right day, I guess. I guess I could say, I would like to read all the anti-maskers.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty shitty. So I don't really need to go into detail. I think we all have a general sense of what that is. I learned about that kid who was diagnosed and actually recovered from COVID back in June, and he was just diagnosed again. So all you folks who are having COVID parties, because it's happening in West Hollywood, cut it out. We're done. Okay? Because let's let go of the concept of antibodies, etc. This is not your typical virus. So please, anti-masker, get a clue. We're good.
And Alana said she didn't come ready to read.
Reading is what? Fundamental. Thank you, Alana. Ebony, Murphy, Root. Who would you like to read this week?
Somebody said library, so of course I brought a book.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The origins of our discontent. So there are a lot of people who are still saying on the left and the right that Kamala Harris isn't Black. And I have to read you people because Black is expansive and not reductive. Okay. So we've got the ADOS people fomenting all sorts of upset. And look, I get it that when some people think Black, they think the African Americans, the sharecropper Negroes who came up from down south as part of the Great Migration, those are my people. I understand that, right? But then there are immigrant Black folks, there are Black folks from Africa. We know this. We cannot pretend that there are not biracial Black folks from all around the world in America, and that when we say Black folks, we mean all of those people. So I need to read all of you folks, Black folks, white folks, John Jr. retweeting crazy stuff, trying to say that Kamala Harris isn't Black. You don't have to like her. You don't have to like her record. You can critique her on valid stuff. There's not really that much valid stuff to critique, but you can try. But you cannot come for her Blackness. And I'm just not here for it. I'm not okay with it. You want to talk about her mother's family. You want to talk about the caste system in Jamaica and India. That's fine. Read this book. We'll have a book club. But please stop saying that Kamala Harris isn't Black. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ebony, I have hearts on my eyes. Do you see them?
Yes.
I just heart you so much.
I think Americans, there are a lot of Americans who don't realize that Black people in Jamaica got there also because of the slave trade. Like, she's still a descendant of slaves.
Read the book. And thank you, Ebony, for your read this week. I would like to open the library for just a moment to address West Hollywood City Council member John D'Amico. Hi, John. How are you? I hope you're having a nice day. So I moderated. Let's just get into this real quick. So I was the moderator of a West Hollywood City Council forum that happened last week, in which 4 of the X amount of candidates for West Hollywood City Council offered their proposals for their vision of what they want to do in the council for West Hollywood. Okay, this question was posed to all 4 candidates about about West Hollywood being referred to as Boys Town and what they would do to make it a more inclusive city for all the colors and spectrums of the LGBTQIA plus community that are often underrepresented. And as we know, there are members of the LGBTQIA community that are marginalized still. The trans community, the lesbian community, there are the intersex and non-binary community, which is just now starting to get a little bit of exposure. And John D'Amico, white, cisgendered, gay male, viewed this forum where literally all of the candidates answered in kind. We had two white men, two women of color. All of them answered the same way. We need to make West Hollywood a more inclusive city. One of them was Seppi Shine, who is a lesbian Iranian-American woman. I'm Iranian American, everybody. So I took it very personally when her answer was a good one. It was about inclusion and making sure that we represent everybody. Okay, John D'Amico posted a diatribe to his Facebook page in which he attacked Seppi Shine personally and called her calls for inclusion dog whistles of hatred against white cisgendered gay men, and went on a very Trumpian diatribe. And John D'Amico, this is unacceptable language from someone who's sitting in an elected office, and your own hatred and racism and misogyny are laid bare for the world to see. The comments were disgusting that you would attack Seppi Shine for making the same ass comments as everybody else. Why did you single out Seppi Shine for making the comments? Why did you single her out? What's different about Seppi Shine and everybody else that answered the same question the same exact goddamn way? There was no difference. The difference is you. The problem is you. I have met you, John D'Amico. I have always found you very pleasant and lovely in person, but I thought this was disqualifying for anyone who seeks to be in any elected office, especially in West Hollywood, especially in a city that is meant to be progressive, that is meant to be inclusive, that is meant to celebrate what's different. Shame on you. And I will work personally. The Stonewall Democratic Club, unfortunately, did not endorse Seppi Shine, but that was through a technicality. But I personally cannot wait to work to make sure that you are no longer on that city council, because your comments were disqualifying and absolutely repulsive. So that's my read. John D'Amico, you need to go somewhere else, but it's not an elected office. So that's my read for the week. Got a little hot.
You're on fire.
Said what needed to be said.
That was fucking fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And, Seppi Shine and all the candidates for West Hollywood, break a leg, but that to me was very disturbing. So this has been the Read Down, your weekly progressive political hot take by the Stonewall Democratic Club. I would like to thank Ryan Basham and our guest panelists this week, Alana Roshay, and of course, Ebony Murphy-Root, who is sitting in this week for Jonathan Welch. We miss you, Jonathan. I'd like to thank our stage manager, Kate Skinner, and of course, the entire Stonewall Democratic Club's communications team. If you'd like to learn more information about the Stonewall Democratic Club and become a paying member, it's only $25 a year. It's an amazing organization, and we are working to take back the government in November. So help us out. Visit stonewalldems.org/join today. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the subscribe button. If you're watching this on Facebook, please click the share button and make sure we get some more eyes on this broadcast. My name is Alex Mohajer. It has been such a pleasure. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week, Tuesday night, 6 p.m. live. This is the Read Down. Have a good one.